everyone, and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is a very special Monday. We have a special guest with us today. We have Ruth Sanderson with us, and I'm so excited. I am extremely fangirling, so don't mind me. So I'm going to bring Ruth on in, and of course, you guys can say hello and that sort of thing. Hello, Ruth. I'm so glad you're here with us.
Hi, Renee. It's really great to be live on your show. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Hello, Christina. Hello, Dawn. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Stacy. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. Apologies for not typing hellos. I'll just
Oh
say
no,
them.
that's why we swap them. Now, Ruth is watching the chat from the program that we're broadcasting from, and it is about a 10-second delay. So if she doesn't get to your question right away, don't worry about it. We will get to it. If you have anything that you want to ask myself or Ruth, especially if the chat is moving very quickly, please put it in caps. Make sure you're in live chat. So we have all sorts of fun stuff going on today. Ruth's going to show us all different things, and we're going to talk to Ruth. But I'm going to give Ruth the floor, and she can tell us a little bit about herself.
Oh,
Christina
okay. Well,
says
thank
hello.
you. I have been illustrating mostly children's books for over 45 years. With my first book published in the 1970s. And I've illustrated book covers, the Black Stallion series. I've illustrated the Nancy Drew series, the Bobbsey twins.
I
So
know.
I've been around for a while. But
my absolutely favorite book, my absolutely favorite set of books when I was a child was the Nancy Drew stuff. And I still, to this day, have my old Nancy Drew books.
Wow. Well, I started illustrating Nancy in, let's see, I think it was the late 1970s. They had sold the series to, Simon and Schuster, I believe. And so they were actually continuing the series. So I didn't redo the covers. I was illustrating new books.
Awesome.
And I happily got to illustrate the final book that the original Carolyn Keene, whose name was Harriet Adams, the final one that she worked on. There were a number of pen name authors that wrote for the series, but in my I believe I was told that she always wrote the outlines and did editing, etc. So most of the ideas were still hers, even though other people executed the stories. And I got to meet her when she was 80 years old, the year before she died. So that was really thrilling. So
I'm quite sure.
my numbers were number 57. I illustrated interiors also for 57, 58, 59, 60. And then I illustrated covers for, I think, almost 20 altogether.
Wow.
Before I got actually too busy doing other things to continue. And if anyone's interested, I actually have produced with permission from the publisher, a coloring book version of a lot of my sketches from the Nancy Drew and some of the colors that are grayscaled. So that's another thing you can find that.
I'm going to have to find that one.
Yeah, in fact, I will include that in my little package, thank you package to you, Renee.
Oh, awesome! That
I didn't know you were
thrilling.
I didn't know you were a Nancy fan.
So. I am a huge Nancy fan. That's one of the reasons why I knew your art as soon as I found one of your coloring books. I knew your name and I knew your art as soon as I saw it. And I went and got my Nancy Drew book and went, it's the same person.
Okay, so you did have one of mine then.
Oh yeah, I've got lots of them. I've got the entire series.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Hi, Terry Lynn. Hi,
Hello, hello
Janie.
everyone. So to continue the story, fast forward to 2016 when, well, I guess it was 2015 that the craze started, the adult coloring craze
Mm-hmm.
with Joanna Basford
Mm-hmm.
and her absolutely stunning books. And so I started to investigate it a little bit, and actually I was asked by Fairy Magazine to create some art for a book that was had 5 different artists doing fairy illustrations. So
Illustrations, yeah.
my that was my first venture into creating art for coloring books. And after that, I started to investigate the groups on Facebook and noticed that that it was a pretty big thing still.
Yeah.
Even though I think it was 2016 this happened, it was starting to die down a little in the general the gigantic craze, and it was sort of the people that stuck to it, sort of like knitting. So many people take up knitting, and then a certain number of people continue.
Right.
But there are obviously people that love coloring and will continue to do it.
Exactly. Well, it's
So
relaxing and it's fun and,
yeah,
you know,
but I want to
yeah.
talk about, and I wish I could find this post, and I haven't been able to, on in one of the coloring groups that I was just sort of, looking at
Perusing.
to see what is this all about. All of a sudden, I saw one of my Santa Claus illustrations that someone had grayscaled and colored, and they got a gazillion likes, and I'm like, um, I,
Um,
I need to point out to you that you don't actually have permission to
to
do this.
do
I think
that.
you got it from Pinterest or something
Yeah.
and just grayscaled it and colored it. Um, and I said, because, an art, but this looks pretty good. And, an artist might want to make a whole book out of their
Grayscale. Yeah.
images that they grayscaled themselves. And I went, light bulb, light bulb. I
Yeah.
have so many books, children's books that really aren't. My art isn't for kids. It's a little more, elaborate.
Yeah.
It's not like simple little cartoony art.
Right. It's very, very
So
intricate.
it's realistic. It's got full dimension. So it actually lends itself to grayscale very well. But
Yeah.
but I have to thank that person, because I might not have discovered that grayscale coloring was a thing. And then I had to teach myself how to
How to
color
do
over
it.
it and make sure that I could do it, that I could share with people who had no idea what this was, because especially back then, it was quite new.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my grayscale entry.
So, I have a couple of different questions. Of course, recently you've been working on another book. When does that come out?
Which
The
book?
the horses book.
The drawing horses
The
or
the
the storm of
children's book,
horses?
the one you've been illustrating that you've been posting those beautiful.
The big elaborate.
Yeah.
That's a storm of horses. So
Yeah,
my
that
love of
one.
horses goes way, way, way back, and that's one of my very favorite subjects. So um, that will be out in February, and it's a picture book biography, fully illustrated, about an artist in the 19th century named Rosa Bonheur. She was French, and she painted the biggest painting of horses ever, like 8 feet tall by 16 and a half feet wide.
Wow.
And women didn't do that sort of thing
No.
back then. They got married and had children, and they might have been hobbyist artists. And most of the impressionist artists who are women painted mostly subjects of children and women and their backyard.
Flowers and whatnot.
Rosa, she was a rebel, and she just wanted to paint what she painted. She loved animals. She painted all sorts of animals, but horses were her, I think, her first love. So, so
Awesome.
the biography is about her life.
Which is really cool. That's cool. I just love the paintings, the pictures that you've been showing on Facebook, as well as, the ones I've seen on your website of the different things that you've illustrated for it and copied, created from her work as well, recreated from her work. It's just so awesome.
Yeah, I sort of imitated her style and shown the pictures, copied actually the pictures that she did as part of the illustrations. So it was a challenge.
I bet.
I don't know if there's any way I can share the screen to just show a little bit of that.
Yeah, down at the bottom where there's share, bring up everything that you want to share first, and then hit share at the bottom, like we showed that, like we did yesterday.
Okay, I'm pulling up.
Yeah.
So if I pull up Photoshop, I can just scroll through them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just go to the file that you want to open first.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise,
Oh,
it's just
right.
going to show your Photoshop.
Okay, let me. All right, I'll show that one. And now
At the bottom,
I go to share.
Yeah.
And share screen.
And then click on the one that you want to share.
Click on, just click on share screen, I think. Yes.
Okay.
Is that what I do? Window.
Yeah.
That one.
Then,
okay. Here we go. So this is, these are a few of the pictures.
And they're just gorgeous.
So this actually, this half is as close a rendering of her painting that I could come up with. And I had a friend of mine pose for the character, for Rosa.
Yeah.
And, just posed her holding a brush against a wall, blank wall.
Blank wall, yeah.
But then I had to recreate what her painting would look like half done. So you can see, the feet aren't finished, and this is looser and rougher over here, and this part is more finished in this section. So to do that, to research that, I read biographies of her life, and she explained, her process. So I was able to kind of deconstruct the painting and show exactly how she did it. This is the actual painting that's hanging at the Metropolitan Museum of Art that I fell in love with. Whoops. What did I do? Okay, I'm back. I fell in love with in art school, and seeing it on a screen doesn't do it justice. I mean, this thing is 8 feet tall.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's massive. It's so great. And here's another of the illustrations.
Yeah.
So some of these individual horses are from her painting, but then I put her in the scene, and I added a few more horses. This is a friend of mine's horse.
Nice.
Big Shire, but Rosa, who in 1850 would not have been allowed to even attend to this. This was a horse fair where they bought and sold horses in Paris, and she had to get a permit to dress in men's clothes because women weren't allowed to go, but the police allowed her to go because it was for her work, right? Because she wanted to do a painting, and so they let her go to kind of in disguise as a man.
Wow.
So it was really fun to tell this story, and this is my dream studio. This actually, she was so famous in her time that there were books that contained pictures of her studio, and I found a reference picture. It was like a black and white engraving of the scene, obviously not with her in it. I put my model in it, and I got a different horse, but she actually rented a studio that was half barn and half studio space, and
Right.
that's exactly where she painted. And
Oh,
what's
that's so
interesting
cool.
is that a lot of this furniture is still when she moved from Paris to a small town south of Paris, and bought a little estate there and built a big studio. And a lot of the same furniture that I got from this engraving is actually still there in her her studio, which is now a museum. And
Yeah.
she walked out yesterday. In fact, this
Awesome.
saddle is I took a photo of this saddle. So this was her saddle. So I'm so excited that I got to do and found such good reference
Yeah, that's really
this,
cool.
to do this. And here she
Uh,
is as a young um,
Artist. Yeah.
teenager, or she's about 12 here, I think, starting
Yeah.
to draw from busts of horses. Her father, she was lucky. Her father was an artist, so he
Yeah.
encouraged her. He
Yeah.
encouraged her. And
Christina has a question for you.
okay, so
Sh-
that's that. Okay, I'm gonna come out of the
Christina's question is, have you ever hit a phase like an artist block, where you've gotten into a rut and didn't feel like drawing? And if so, what did you do about that phase?
well, that actually has never completely happened to me. I have gotten burned out after having finished projects and just kind of don't want to do much. Um, but interestingly enough, after I just finished this book in July or August. No, it was August, early August, and I didn't want to look at a paintbrush again for a long time. Well, to do a really detailed oil painting in my studio, because
Right.
I was so many hours sitting and painting this book. Um, and then actually did a demonstration at the Norman Rockwell Museum of a plein air painting outside. I painted a tree
Hmm.
outside. Um, and I fell in love with painting outside. So what did I do after being burned out and sick of painting? I went outside and painted.
And
For the next
painted.
few months, I painted outside. I painted like 20 paintings, just plein air from life. I'm the kind of artist that I get depressed if I don't draw or paint.
Yeah.
So I've never really had like a complete block like that. I've had periods of time where I don't want to do much work in the evening, um, but usually, you have to pry me away from my drawing board and say, go to bed.
Yeah, it's time. Stop.
It's a love. It's a passion,
Yeah.
and
And
I have
and we
trouble stopping.
and we get to have all of the fun parts of your passion. So keep it up.
Okay, so
So I'm going to switch you over to your iPad. She has some different tips and tricks that she's going to
okay,
show us.
great.
So I'm going to switch her over so that she is full screen on her iPad. And she's going to show us all sorts of wonderful things on different ways to do grayscale. Um,
Okay, so I was going to show you the black and white version of this before it got blended, which I can't find. It's got to be here. It's not. No. Okay, well, these were grayscale. These were all grayscale
right.
spheres to begin with. And I know I have the blank one, and I meant to keep it out, and it's
Hello, Neri.
sorry,
Welcome.
you get it anyway.
Yes.
So actually had a version where I had 6 different blending methods, and then I realized 3 of them I really don't like. and I don't use myself. So when I do, and I'm planning a YouTube demo on my own channel on blending, I'm only going to include my three favorite ones. And first, I'll tell you what I don't use, and that's, in fact, I think I threw them all out, a colorless pencil blender.
Okay.
So I do not use the Prismacolor colorless blender.
Those
That
are
is
horrible.
and this is my brand of choice. I started using these in art school, so it's just what I've continued to use.
Yeah, I have never found the Prismacolor colorless blender to be a good blender. It
Yeah,
just
you
seems
were
to
telling me
scratch everything off.
that you that there are other brands that make better ones. I believe they are too hard. So for Grayscale, if you try to blend with that pencil, you could just go right down to the gray and bring up the gray again, and it just looks ugly. So
Mhm.
at any rate, so often I will just burnish with the pencil colors that I'm using. So this actually was sort of a flesh tone demo using light peach for the lightest side, and then for the shadow side, I used peach and nectar, which is it's almost like a slightly darker peach. It really makes um, a nice
Shadow.
shadow of flesh when it's grayscale.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely different if you're blending yourself on white, but if you get used to grayscale, you will find it is way easier than shading something from pure white
Yes.
because there's already tone there. So for blending this, basically I would just go back over it and press a little bit harder in the areas, basically with the pencil color. Some people do burnishing with a lighter pencil like white or what have you, and you can do that, but I generally kind of use the colors that I've used to begin with,
Yeah.
and just press harder. So I'm sure most of you know the theory of you're flattening the tooth of the paper,
Yeah.
and that sort of presses your color into all those little white areas. And then I would take the peach,
Right.
and what you have to remember, if you've got a soft transition, is to definitely pay a decent amount of attention to that transition, to that area where it's in between the light area and the dark area,
Mhm.
and feather you know feather a fair amount of color into that.
Yeah.
And then you're going to press down on your shadow area. But notice how light a pencil this is, but this is really pretty dark. It stays, that gray is a base, will stay there,
Right.
unless it's very hard to completely cover up that gray. Um, uh, I think a lot of people don't realize that colored pencils are transparent. It doesn't seem like they would be, but they
Yeah.
kind of are. So there's that, and then the nectar, I go in just kind of in the darkest area.
Yeah,
Add
there's
a little
very
bit of
very
that,
few.
and nectar's just a nice color. It's almost, it's got a little more brown in it. And I have tutorials in my book. I have a book called Fantasy Faces. I'll show that in a minute. Right there. And in the back, I have suggestions for more complex color schemes. So this is like 3 for Caucasian types, and then 3 for darker skinned types. So if any of you are interested in that, and I do have both a tutorial on, I think on a coloring a darker grayscale, and then not one of these. I have another one on coloring a princess. So, but you almost, because our skin has gray undertones, so grayscale is actually perfect for coloring flesh, and you could almost just use two pencils. I think a
Right.
lot of people make it a little too complicated.
Yes.
Of course, then you can add pink for the blush for the cheeks, and
Right.
or blush pink in the light area, and a darker pink if you want, what
Right.
have you, and
But
more complicated things. But if you just want a base, the so this is a good actually demo of coloring skin, because you see how nice and smooth that is. Although I
right.
see a little gray there, and even leaving a little gray is not bad, because we have that gray sometimes
Yeah.
transition between the light and the dark of our skin.
Right.
So that's blending with the pencil itself.
Right.
Now this one has almost that many layers on it. Maybe not quite that many layers, but you can see I made a little mark here. So this is blended with Gamsol mineral spirits, and I just put it in a little jar.
Little jam jar.
I'll show you a quick. So I use different things. You can get, these are pencil blenders, like for blending graphite pencil blending stumps. You can use these, and if you use this, the problem is, then you get the color stuck in it. You can wipe out the color on a extra sheet of paper, and they actually work very nicely. But another tool of choice is
you know what I use to get the color off of my blending stumps?
What?
Soft pumice stone.
Okay, that would work too.
It works really well.
But as a quick disposable, these are makeup Q-tips, and they come with a nice point. I actually use these in oil painting as well, to like pull out highlights and things like that. They're a very cool tool, and I just dip it in Gamsol and just blend. And at first it's scary, because it actually does kind of go down to the gray of your but this is wet, so when it dries, it will dry smoother.
Yeah.
But a very cool tip is, while it's not still damp, you can go back in for a very, very smooth look and add more pencil in. And what those mineral spirits do is they actually just slightly melt the wax in the Prismacolor. There are brands that are not wax based, and I'm not sure how they would react, but for the Prismacolor, and then you just kind of rub, usually with a point that's not sharp, because you sort of want it to melt in, and you see how it sort of melted into almost like a flat blending area, and then you can blend it back in.
That's really cool.
And I'll use this should be peach, and then I'll rub that back in. And believe it or not, this did look like this, and in a minute you'll see that will dry and resolve into
the same thing.
Yeah, it is scary at first, and if it stays like that after it dries, that means that you haven't put enough layers of color on, so you have to add more. So
cool.
So we'll let that dry. It should dry hopefully by the time we're finished with the next one, which is, this is a Prismacolor colorless blender. And they come, yeah, I made the mistake of getting the one with, it's almost like a chisel
Mm-hmm.
end, and it doesn't work quite as well. I like this as a softer, smoother blend. So,
Have you tried like a brush tip colorless blender from
is
an
it a
alcohol
brush
marker
tip?
set?
Is this sort of a brush tip?
Kind of. It's more of a bullet tip, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
got the point of a brush tip, yes.
Yeah, I guess I have not. Yeah. And some people use actual brushes,
Yeah.
but I find that for the Gamsol, you have to be really careful. It actually makes it a little too wet.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
think didn't you discover that
Yeah,
too,
I
Renee?
discovered that. I
Yeah.
discovered that the hard way.
But this is something you can fix. It's like it doesn't have to be, the disaster end, because you can always
Add more. Yeah.
add more. And I'll do the same thing with this. And I think I usually do add a little more, because it gives it that really nice um, finished look.
Yeah.
And this one I know.
Is it the light?
I'm confused at this one, because I think it just takes a while to dry.
Yeah.
Because I did this, an hour ago. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to believe me.
We believe you.
We'll move on to the next thing, and then we'll put this under the hairdryer or something. I think the colorless marker dries faster, because see how
Yeah,
much
because
better
it's
this one looks?
alcohol.
And this one's still quite wet, I think.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because honest, that looked just like the underneath of that. Come on. Interesting. All right. So
Gamsol's making a figure out of you.
I've switched mostly from, because I used to only blend with Gamsol. And basically, I learned all these things from colorists, because it's like I didn't know how to do these things. This is a completely new technique for me. I create the art, but then it's like, okay, I have to teach myself how to actually color this, because I don't use colored pencil as a finished medium.
Right.
Usually, I've done it, but in combination with acrylic, and so I've used colored pencil, but not like this. So anyway, once I discovered the colorless marker, it's similar, because I believe, this is alcohol based.
Right.
Alcohol, mineral spirits, a similar thing.
Similar, yeah.
It's what do they call it? I don't know what they call it. Something that dissolves, but it's similar. So anyway, those are some tips for blending. And I wanted to share one more thing with you, which is different kinds of grayscale. So I have read a lot of discussions online about people's preferences, whether they prefer lighter or darker grayscale. And about 80% of people just are adamant that they want light grayscale. And I've tried to accommodate folks, and in many of my books, I've gone back and edited them to contain two versions,
Right.
two complete full versions in the book. One version in a lighter grayscale than the other.
Right.
Some books I only have one version or the other. I haven't had time to go back to everything. I think my Merry Christmas book is a darker grayscale.
Yeah, it has
it's
I think it has this has the darker angels in it.
right.
And the Santa's Christmas has two versions, light and dark. Yeah.
Light and dark. Yeah. I think I went back in because the Santa's Christmas is 24 images. So and I needed, you need a blank page in between everything. So it was reasonably sized book. And then when I bumped up to do double, it was over 100 pages.
Yeah.
And the Merry Christmas is already 36 images. It's a bigger book.
Yeah.
So it would have made too big a book. So I kept it just one. And
Yeah.
my preference is the darker grayscale, which I've heard people say, oh, it takes so much pencil to cover it. It's like, actually, it takes less pencil to cover it. And I don't know why.
Yeah. Just use a lighter pencil.
Well, because so what I use over the darkest dark is not a dark red. I've got, sets of Prismacolors, and anything like much darker than, okay, here's my darkest red.
So I've been telling you guys all
That's
wrong.
the darkest red, and it's process red. It's not a dark red, but that's the red I use in the shadows here. And usually I start with the lights, but you can start either way. Some people like to start with the darks, but
yeah, because
I use a nice bright medium. I want to call it a medium tone. So, that's a light. This is a light tone. This is a medium tone, and I do have a pretty dark. So that would be, a dark. So, here's a light red, a medium red, and a dark red. I think there are reds even darker than this, but you don't necessarily need the darkest dark red for this.
No.
Because, as we said before, colored pencils are transparent. So that gray underneath is doing a heck of a lot of the work to keep this like this. Whereas, for instance, see how nice, that looks. But if I started to do this over an area that's not as dark, and especially over this one, for instance, you're going to get a lot of the the light gray showing through, just like when you put a dark pencil over pure white.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting a lot of that, the texture of your paper.
Right. I'm getting a lot of that white spot.
If what's under that is already dark, it's camouflaging, so it's much easier to
cover it up,
create a realistic looking picture if you're using dark gray to begin with.
Right. Okay.
And then then you go in with the pink, and you overlap. And
makes sense.
The light pink at the end. And I'm working about a foot away from this picture, so I really can't see what I'm doing. I just wanted to, and I don't have my bifocals on, so I'm just making this up.
She's just making beauty out of nothing.
I don't know what I'm doing. It's sort of automatic pilot at this point, but I hope it's blending. It
is blending. You're doing well.
Okay, so I just did that one leaf, but you get the concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't need to finish all of these, but
no.
This is sort of the difference. A light grayscale, you really have to then create your own darks, and that's a lot more work, and will take a lot more actual pigment, to do, as opposed to something that's dark to begin with. And skies that are already darker, and it's a night sky, boy, that covers a lot of error on your part, because blue, blue and black are kind of close. So if you're just going in with, like scribbly little lines and, making it, you can even do almost, a looser look. The sky. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that darkness, will read as a very nice night sky.
Right.
So
that's
my spiel.
One of the things I have found, especially with my own experience with grayscales, is the darker the grayscale, especially when you're first starting out with them, they're really scary looking.
Yeah.
And they're not something that needs to be scary. After I started coloring Grayscale and learned how to color Grayscale, I am more afraid of a line art now.
Hmm.
Just a straight line art on white paper is scarier to me than a Grayscale is.
Yeah, you've got to have, you've got to keep your pencils really sharp and just, build up those colors so gradually and smoothly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes
Um,
a lot more pencil.
one of the things I have found with Grayscale, with coloring Grayscale myself, is you choose your colors. You choose your three normal color ways that you normally choose color, two or three colors, and you start off with your dark color in the darkest areas, and then you start blending it in with your lightest colors, moving it around a little bit and getting that blend together to show the lights and reflections and that sort of thing. But that's the way I do it. Of
Mhm.
course, everybody's different and does everything differently.
Yeah, I will often start with the light colors, but not always.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll start with the darks. So I think it's just a matter of personal
Well,
choice. You'll get to the same place.
it also depends upon the color I'm using.
Yes.
So if I'm using really light colors like whites, light yellows, those sorts of things, and I want that white to stand out the most, I'll use the white first.
Hmm.
So it all depends upon what you're coloring, really.
Right.
So do we have any more questions that I haven't gotten to? Hello, Mandy. I'm sorry if I missed you. Oh, he's so pretty.
I just wanted to put up one of my Santa Dynamos.
I love him. He's just so cute.
This
And
is,
here's another one.
and here's another one. You're doing a great job. That's it. That's really nice.
Yeah, I decided to do blues for the curtains.
Yeah, that works well. You can't go wrong with primary. Red, yellow, blue.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost always works.
So, um, you were showing the things that you use for blending, and of course the Caran d'Ache blender stick um, is my normal go-to. This is the full blender bright, and it
Oh,
doesn't really do a lot of blending per se, but it does mash down and move that color into the white spot and eliminate that white spot. But it also makes it really nice and shiny
mm,
and makes it all pretty. So I
mm,
like those. I don't like the Prisma blender pencil. I think I too find it extremely hard. And it peels off the pencil no matter how much you have down, it's going to lift it up, and that's
mhm.
always irritating to me. Um, the brush blender from a brush marker. So there's the brush marker.
Oh, yeah. Very similar to mine, I think.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a brush marker, and they're very simple to use. You just
Mhm.
draw them down. But another one that somebody has shown me recently, the one thing I do find with the brush markers that you have to be a little bit careful of is dragging that color to a place you don't want it to be. It is really simple to do because you're flicking away, and the next thing you know, you've got blue and yellow
Mm.
where you don't want it. But another one that I was shown recently is this one here. It's a Koi coloring brush pen. And this is a water-based product. It's not an alcohol-based product, so it takes a little bit longer to dry, but it's not as wet as the alcohol. And it does really, really nicely as well. And this is about the size of your little brush one that you were using. But yeah, those are the things that I blend with when I'm blending on Grayscale. Typically, I just use my pencils to blend. So that's typically what I do.
Yeah, I don't always blend with the with the colorless marker either. Once in a while.
Once in a while. But there's sometimes that it's needed. There's sometimes that, like, for example, this area here, I'll switch over to my close-up camera so you can see it. This area here, I did a marble effect on the top of the fireplace wall there. And to blend that with a colorless blending pencil or a white pencil or anything would have taken out my my striations. So my little lines for the marble.
Right.
So with a colorless blender, I'm able to move those without eliminating that flow. So, oh, we have a question. Do you sell versions or PDF versions of your books? Yes, she does sell her books. We have an Etsy shop here for her. So there's her Etsy shop, as well as her own website. And this one here is her YouTube channel. The bot will tell you when what the YouTube channel is. Yeah, so Ruth has actually given us a set of really cute little a cute picture from her. Where did I put it? I have moved it somewhere and now I don't know where it is. She provided a picture for us to give away from Christmas Magic. There it is.
Which actually is not line art. I mean, it's not.
It is a line art. Yes. So I think it's this one. Yes. So this is the one that she has given us. This is actually in the book, Christmas Magic. So we are going to do a quick giveaway for this.
And it's interesting. I think I blend more when I color over the line art.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
I'm always scared of bringing that grayscale back up to the top when I blend a grayscale. So, okay, so we're going to be giving away this picture. So we're going to type into the chat Christmas mouse. So everybody type in Christmas mouse. And we'll continue talking while they do that.
Could let's see. Could I share a few things on my website for people?
Oh, absolutely. Just go to your website and hit share.
Let's see.
Make sure your website's up on your screen first.
Yeah, let me make sure that's up at the top. And share screen. Share screen. Window. Share. Oops. This. Share. Okay. Do you see that?
Yeah, just 1 second. There you go. So let's see if I can make that full screen layout. There we go.
So what was that?
Those are on your website, right?
So this is my website. I've got galleries of my work. here are a bunch of my horses, for instance. So a lot of these have been made into grayscale coloring books. You know, I have a book of horses, and then my fantasy art, which includes my fairy tales, and just paintings I've done. You know,
I
a lot of
love
these,
that.
I've grayscaled a lot of these images for coloring books, and you know, sets of coloring pages on Etsy as well.
Yeah.
What else do I have? Here's my Christmas art. So a lot of these are images from the Santa's Christmas, my first Christmas coloring book,
Mm-hmm.
which is the traditional religious version
Yeah.
for people interested in that. And let's see. And I have a whole section on my coloring books, the latest of which is a version, a grayscale version of the book Heidi that I illustrated in the 1980s. So
Awesome.
people might be interested in. I've done a number of ones that are nursery rhymes, and I included the words in nursery rhymes and Mother Goose for people that want to color it and then like share it with the grandchild and
Yeah.
read them the rhymes. So that's a little different. You don't usually see text in
Right.
coloring books.
Yeah.
Here's Christmas Magic, which just came out last year.
Yeah.
And
And that's what we're giving away.
What's that?
And that's what we're giving away a picture of from is Christmas Magic.
Yep. So here's the fantasy faces I was talking about with you know, different sets of Prismacolor combinations. I've
Awesome.
done Grayscale Fairies. It's quite popular, my Grayscale Fairies book.
Yeah.
And then all my not all, but quite a few of my children's fairy tales I've turned into grayscale books. So it's all Disney princesses, a Cinderella, which I believe you have, Renee.
I have that one.
If you like whimsical, I've got Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Oh, cool.
Snow Princess. This is a Russian retelling. If you like coloring snow.
Yeah.
Here's that Mother Goose. And this was what started it all, the World of Fairies, which I originally did for.
That's so cool.
And
hi, Wicca.
I've done another line art one. I did a cat one with very detailed, dressed up kind of cats.
Zendoodled or Zendangled or
so. And horses. And Santa's Christmas. And Merry Christmas. And there's the first Christmas too.
Yeah.
So, and the Castle Full of Cats. That's a silly book, picture book I wrote in rhyme, and that's a grayscale version. So the grayscale is a little bit lighter because this had a line base, you know.
Yeah.
With watercolor, so
yeah.
It's a good one. And and we were talking earlier about my Nancy Drew. So yeah, so these are all the colors that I've illustrated over the years, and so I grayscaled a lot of the images. I grayscaled a lot of my sketches, and it's almost like shows the history of my illustrating Nancy Drew.
Right.
It's got some cover sketches that they rejected and I liked better.
Now, did you do the Hardy Boys as well, or is that a different artist?
I did some Bobbsey twins, but not the Hardy Boys.
Okay.
I guess I was the girl artist. And I've done a coloring book on women in the Bible based on a picture book that I wrote. So, and that includes the text as well.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel on my books.
Wicca, for everybody that's coming in now, we're giving away a illustration from the Christmas Magic, and it is Christmas Mouse that you need to put in the chat, and it's the family of mice. And I've lost the page because I closed it because I'm silly. So it is this page that is a PDF, and I will be sending it to you for whoever wins. So you just got to type in Christmas Mouse in the chat. And I do have a couple of questions that are a little bit of a difficult question to ask. As an artist, as an illustrator, and as an artist with a business, you're a business person. How do you feel, and how do you deal with individuals? First of all, how do you feel, and what do you think of individuals that photocopy your work, whether it be a coloring book or whether it be one of your other books, and send it to somebody else who hasn't purchased your book?
Well, that's it's not very nice of people to do that because artists do make a living at this. However, if you do it and send it to one person, I'm not going to sue people. What bothers me more is when a company takes one of my images and puts it in a book that they
don't.
publish and claim that they have the rights to the image, and
Right.
that goes into hundreds possibly of copies.
Thousands, yeah.
And that's like, in fact, Renee, you pointed out yesterday a book that basically stole one of my pictures. So I will pursue that. I will ask them either to remove, well, I guess I'll ask them to remove it or pay me royalties or a flat fee for the use of that picture. I guess if they paid me, a flat fee for the use of that picture, that would be fine. If they ignore me, I will not be happy. And I probably will have my husband, who's a lawyer by training, send them a threatening letter. But basically, and actually he doesn't practice anymore, so he couldn't sue them. Suing someone costs you more than what you would actually get back. So you have to prove the damages, monetarily. So actually hiring a lawyer, they want $5,000, and I don't make $5,000 on my own books, let alone somebody else.
Somebody else's.
So but you can, I don't want to use the word threaten, but that's basically what it is.
Well, you can advise them that this is not very nice, and please.
And maybe, and there have been people that occasionally, in other products, because this has happened quite a lot, will come back and apologize, and I don't know if they're telling the truth or not, and saying they found it XYZ and couldn't
verify whose it was, or
and they took it down. So
okay, so basically, don't do it.
And I would prefer, definitely, if someone had the inclination to give away a bunch of my images to their friends, that they encourage their friends to please support the poor artist.
Exactly.
You can buy their own copy.
All right, so we're going to roll this. So let's see who wins this wonderful image. All right, so let's see if it comes up. Catherine Potter has won the giveaway. So congratulations. And let's see, how many people do we have in here? Now that I've made you all do that. So we have 26 people in here, Ruth. Do you think maybe if they just all emailed me that I can send them all one?
Sure.
So everyone who is in the live chat, send me an email and I will send you out the PDF for this picture. Hey there, Mary. So everyone that is in the live chat, email me and I will send you out a PDF of that picture. If you are in the Facebook group, I did receive permission from Ruth yesterday to post it in the Facebook group. So if you are already in my Facebook group, you are already available to that picture. So for all of you that aren't in my Facebook group, please email me and I will send you out that picture. If you are in the Facebook group, you can download it from the PDF link that is in the Facebook group. And I hate to say it, but we've been here for an hour. I know. Unfortunately, I do have an eye doctor's appointment soon, and the doctor's mad at me because I have not been dealing with my glaucoma appointments. So he will not let me miss another doctor's appointment.
I just had laser.
Yeah.
On
I have
my glaucoma.
Yeah, I have progressive glaucoma. And believe it or not, coloring has actually, the doctor says that the coloring and the concentration of my eyesight and movements of my eyes with coloring has actually stopped the progression.
Wow.
So that's one of the reasons why I color, is so I can see. I can't see very well, but so I can see. But yeah, so I have, with the progressive glaucoma, it moves in from my sides, not from my centers. So I have no peripheral. So
yeah, mine too.
Yeah, so you know exactly how I feel.
Yes, I do. Good luck, and do not neglect those appointments.
So yeah, I can't miss another appointment. I would love to. I did try to put it off so that we could do this for longer, but the doctor said, yeah, no, you're not allowed.
No. Well, thank you, Renee. It's really been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
Thanks
visiting
everyone
with
for
us.
watching.
And, you know, of course, you are welcome on the channel anytime you would like to be here. You know, if you want to hang out and just sit and color quietly with us, we would love it. Like I said, I'm still fangirling here. So,
Well, thank you. That's very sweet.
of course, if you guys all want to show your support to Ruth, of course, go to her Facebook group, which is right here, which is that's her art group. So make sure that you go there and sign up for her art group if you're in Facebook. And, you know, show her the things that you've been coloring. If you want to buy a PDF, make sure that you go to her Etsy shop and, you know, download some art. Of course, she has her own website as well that you can purchase her books from. She is also available on Amazon and also available on YouTube if you have any problems whatsoever coloring any of her books. Please go watch her on YouTube because she walks you through it like she'll hold your hand. So make sure that you do that. So, Ruth, I thank you so much. Did I miss anything?
No, this was wonderful. This was wonderful. Thank you so much, Renee.
Absolutely.
And happy coloring, everyone. And
the book that I'm working on right now is the Merry Christmas Grayscale adult coloring book. And that's what this picture's from.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. And of course, remember to always, always like, comment, and subscribe any video that you watch. It is the best way to support any YouTuber, and I appreciate it. And above all, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us. I appreciate it.